everybody, welcome to this week's Roundup. No special announcements or anything, so let's jump right in. First up, Rodrigo has just released the first physical book in his Architecture of Consoles series, which started out as a web blog and grew into a really detailed reverse engineering and full analysis of a ton of different video game consoles. And this first book is about the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and it's the same stuff that's available on his website for free, and it's also the same stuff that if you prefer an ebook version, you could buy for much cheaper on Amazon. But I'm talking about this because many of us listening would love something like this. People like me would like it. It's like a coffee table book for my fellow nerds to flip around and kind of check out. And there's other people that might be using this as a manual who might want to help or start working on projects on these two consoles. And either way, I'm really happy I bought it. It wasn't expensive. I think it was around 20 bucks on Amazon or something. And it's just cool. I snapped a couple of real pictures of it just so you can get an idea of what to expect. But it's exactly what you saw on the website, just, in physical form, and a really cool book. So, I wanted to share this one. And if you want to learn more about Rodrigo and the work that he's done and kind of his interesting history, I did an interview with him a while back. And if you were at Retro World Expo last year, you probably had the pleasure of meeting him, hanging out at our booth and stuff as well. So, good luck to Rodrigo to release the rest of the book series on paperback like this, because I would pick them all up just because I think it'd be a really neat thing to have. And, probably not smart enough to be able to make projects based on information this detailed, but I know people who are, so who knows? Maybe these things will come in handy for more than just a fun show book for me, but either way, I thought it was worth it. Next up, the RetroTink 5X Tower of Power is now in stock at Castlemania in the US and ready to ship. So no pre-orders at all. If you buy this, it'll just ship basically immediately. And if you're unaware of the product, this is a device that slides into the side SCART input of the RetroTink 5X, and it breaks that out input to the back, but it also adds a VGA input that has a powered sync combiner to it, as well as a separate audio input as well. And it comes with a USB power splitter, so one PSU could power both of these things. And it is very reminiscent of a Genesis 1 Sega CD1 combo. And this isn't for somebody who just wants a cheap VGA to SCART converter, because it's $100. It's not a cheap device. In fact, if you just wanted the HD15 to SCART, that could probably do what most people need, although that is a passive XNOR sync combiner, whereas this is an active circuit, which would be more compatible with a lot of different things. But this is really for the person that wants the aesthetic value, but also if you just want it for VGA and composite video, you could use one of those really cheap composite to SCART converters. So for a lot of people out there that just have component video setups, but you might also want a VGA console here and there, you don't really use SCART, now you could just route composite video through this to save the component ports and back for just that, which is pretty handy. And once again, it's also a looks thing too. It just looks cool. So the only other thing to note is that there are two case versions of the RetroTink 5X. They're functionally identical in every way. There's just a case with no texture to it and a case with texture, and you have to figure out which one is which before buying, which is as easy as just looking at yours and select the one that matches yours. But if you want more info and links to everything, it's all right here in the post. But this is just an awesome device that, if you need it, is a very cool looking and well functioning device. And if you don't need it, that's fine. There's cheaper ways to accomplish something similar. But I definitely wanted to share that there's now a US seller, as well as still available in Switzerland from Consoles for You, the creator and the original seller as well. Sega Saturn homebrew developer Frogbull has just released a fun project for fans of the Shenmue game on Dreamcast, but it's on the Saturn. And it's not a full port of the game. It's a couple of different scenes that were inspired by or kind of reminiscent of the areas in Shenmue on Dreamcast, but on the Saturn, including an arcade where you could walk in and play Master System versions of the arcade games like you could have on the Dreamcast version. And this is just one of those awesome, fun things that I think anybody who's a fan of the game or just a fan of really cool homebrew might want to check out. There's a link to a video embedded right here in the post and a ton more details of exactly what to expect and where the project might lead to in the future. Basically, just check Dan's post for all of the info. But this seems like a fun and awesome project, and it's certainly something that any fan of Shenmue might want to just try just for the heck of it. But links to everything are right here in Dan's post. Next up, Voultar's 2-chip SNES mod is now finally up for sale for do-it-yourself installations. You just need to choose your exact motherboard revision from the dropdown, which all you have to do is pop the SNES open and pull the metal plate off. It's about as easy as it gets as far as disassembly goes. And you'll also want to check off if you need a cap kit for it or not. And I have a very strong opinion I want to impress upon all of you for this. If you've done a cap replacement on your SNES in the past decade and it was done right, you don't need it, definitely. However, if your SNES has never been recapped, or if you bought one off of eBay, opened it up and noticed that maybe it wasn't the best job of a recap done on it, you need to replace the caps before doing this. In my testing of this mod, and in Voultar's and a bunch of other people's, we found that if your caps were aging, then you would actually not get nearly as much of a benefit from it. Plus, it's also my opinion that if you're going to open up your console and spend your time to refurbish it and add a really nice mod to it, why not just make this preventative maintenance happen right now so you just never have to worry about it again? It's also a lot easier on an SNES than many other consoles. So seriously consider that, because you don't want to put the time in to do this and go, oh, I guess it's a little better, just to find out that if you'd replaced the caps, it'd have been perfect. A couple of other things to note about this. First, Voultar made a bunch of these things, but paused sales just to give him time to fulfill all of the orders that already came in. So if you hear this podcast and you click on the link and it says sold out, just check back in a day or so, and I'll, repost on social media whenever Voultar posts about it and stuff to keep everybody in the loop. But they're not sold out. He just wanted to make sure it wasn't a scenario that, a gazillion people placed an order and it's going to take months to get yours because it takes so long to pack and ship these things, which I think is the right move. So they're not sold out yet, and he's already planning next batches and stuff, and hopefully this will be something that could just be kept in stock. A few other things to note: if you want a long, boring idiot's guide on how to install it in real time, I did a live stream of this a while back showing all of my findings, the mistakes that I had previously made, which I always like showing my mistakes, because if I could make them, everybody else can. And one of the problems that I had is when I did the restoration of composite in S-Video, there was one solder joint that wasn't perfect, and that's all it turned out to be. So I chased ghosts for a while. Wasn't sure if I did that in this live stream or it was another one, but either way, that's if you like slow-paced, step-by-step. If you just want a really nice video showing you how to install this thing, Tito from Macho Nacho Productions did it a while back, and that's probably the better one to watch. Of course, if you want to know why you have to do a bypass at all on these things, check out the video I did called SNES Video Output Explained. The only thing about this video is it says that Voultar's mod will disable composite in S-Video, and it does not. Ever since, from the time that video was made to the time that he finished it, you can keep both, but not just keep, you improve both. S-Video and composite are both improved with this mod. And to be clear, I would never suggest you install this if you only use S-Video and composite. However, if you're in a scenario like you got a RetroTink 4K and you're plugging this into it, going into a beautiful OLED, but you also have a really nice consumer CRT, it's good to know that not only will it work, you will get improved output from it. So I think that's pretty cool as well. And I think that's basically it. I mean, just check out the post for links to everything. And I think this is just awesome that it's finally out there and released. And of course, there were a bunch of delays that, some of them were pretty crazy and obviously not Voultar's fault at all, but it's just nice to have a reliable mod now, because I know I say this every time I talk about 2-chip mods, but over the past decade plus, there has been a lot of different projects that try to do exactly this. And shout out to all of the devs who worked on it and shared their findings, because we wouldn't have been able to get to this point if we didn't have all of that previous research. But this is the only one that consistently, on every motherboard revision in every region, will improve the video output quality, whereas all of the other ones had scenarios in which it really wasn't worth it, and some scenarios which it did a great job. But this is the most reliable one out there now, and it's absolutely the one that I recommend, not just because Voultar is a friend. Anybody that ever watched the Retro Roundtable knows we are each other's harshest critics, and if this was any less than perfect, all of his friends would have just destroyed him in private DMs for it. So this is a genuine and honest recommendation, and I think it's an awesome product, and I'm really glad it's finally out there for do-it-yourselfers. So everything that you need to know is right here in the post. Next up, Sega Tom over on the SMS Power forums has just released the Gerber files for a Homebrew 3D glasses adapter for the Sega Master System. It's a PCB with a bill of materials, but nothing else, so you'd have to make your own. And you might immediately be asking, why do I need to make one if they're available on eBay used for like 30 bucks these days? And the answer is you probably don't need it today, but this is something that really helps preserve all of the accessories for the Master System, and someday it'll be necessary. Also, it's my opinion that I've had a few 3D glasses adapters die before, and I'm not the greatest at tracing out components. Most of my friends are infinitely better than me, and I also don't have the time and don't really have the money to just say, okay, well, let me try to trace this out. All right, well, let me swap this one chip first to see if that makes it better. Okay, that didn't work, so let me swap another chip. I think for me personally, I would have loved to have taken those dead adapters, taken the plastic cases off of them, and just put it on top of one of these and essentially have a brand new one. Now, if you're listening and you go, that's dumb, I'd rather just fix the original and keep the original parts on it, I'm with you. I just don't have time for that, and I don't think a lot of other people do as well. So very cool that this is available for people that have that choice. And, I'd like to see this go further. And before I say anything else, I know there aren't very many 3D glasses games on the Master System. Most are terrible. A couple of really great ones, though. Maze Hunter or Maze Walker 3D, depending on region. Space Harrier and Outrun are fun, and you got to just try it. And of course, Missile Defense 3D, a 3D 8-bit light gun game. I mean, come on. Those are all worth playing. But I always kind of hoped that crazy people like me who just like those games would take it a step further and maybe take a project like this, but also add a wireless chip so you could sync modern 3D glasses to it instead. I'm not sure what the latency would be. I don't know if that's even possible. And I think if you're at that point, it might actually be better to just get a 3D adapter built in to the Mr. project. That way you could do something like sync the glasses to a Bluetooth adapter and just do it that way on a CRT or something like that. But whatever, I just wanted to float those ideas out there because while most people are rolling their eyes just going, who cares about a couple of mediocre games, there are lots of people who love those games, and it would be fun to have different ways of experiencing them. And maybe this is just one of those things that software emulation is the key. Maybe a couple years from now, somebody will do a 120 frame per second version so that it's 60 frames per eye using VR goggles or something, and will actually get much better than the original versions. I don't know. I just want to keep the conversation going because I don't think these games should be forgotten about. And I think 3D in general, when done right, like Maze Walker, Maze Hunter, like Avatar, when done right, 3D has been excellent, but it just got such a stigma around it from all the garbage, all the post-production conversions that were out there for the movies, some of the mediocre Master System and NES games that are out there. I just think that when people, the Virtual Boy, I think when people see 3D done correctly, it's awesome. And there's just not as much good as bad. So it gets overlooked a lot. So hopefully stuff like this might inspire people to make more cool things for it. And like I said, maybe just doing something on the Mister is a better idea. And maybe we could have some fun and improve the originals. But I just want to keep the 3D conversation going. This Saturday at 7 p.m. New York City time, Arthremis will be opening another batch of pre-orders for the Scalable Video Switch, the SVS, and this will be a true pre-order, and there's a lot to know about this one. First, when you place the order, you're going to be charged $10 per module to have your order secured, and that will come off the total price. This isn't an extra charge or anything, but basically Arthremis is only charging $10 per module because he doesn't know how much this stuff is going to cost because of all the craziness going on. So rather than try to tell people, well, I think it's going to be this much and end up accidentally over or undercharging you, the plan is to everybody pay $10 per module to secure your order. That's a non-refundable charge, which will deter people from ordering it, whether they really want one or not. And then the orders will be placed. Arthremis is going to be taking the risk to place this hardware order on his own dime, which is kind of scary. So props for taking that risk. And then after the parts come in, you're going to get a full invoice that tells you exactly how much everything cost. And once again, the $10 per module will come off the total order. This isn't an extra charge. It's just to help secure everybody's place in line. And The shipments will be divvied out between batches. So in this pre-order round, it's basically as the orders fill up, to whatever the minimum order, let's call it 10. It's not 10. It's a lot more than 10. But just to visualize it in your head, let's just say first 10 orders come in, and that's locked into batch 1. Those will ship for June and July. And then any orders that come in after that will be in batch 2, which is July and August shipment. And then batch 3 is August, September. Batch 4 is September, October. So basically, the sooner you order, the sooner you're going to get your SVS. And after that point, hopefully, there'll just be enough made where they'll just be in stock for whoever wants them. Or if for whatever reason, all of the pre-orders aren't filled by May 3rd at 7 p.m. New York City time, everything's just going to be shut down and made as is. So no new orders will be taken, but everybody's will be made. So a little complicated, but it's kind of what needs to be done to get everybody's orders in, to get them done in a timely manner so people don't have to wait forever if you got your order in right away. And there's also a couple things to note about the modules themselves. First, the updated revision of the VGA module will be able to be purchased. This has all of the bugs worked out, so that should be fine. Next, the S-Video modules also have a couple of enhancements to them that allow it to be a little bit more compatible with different setups. And the SCART module will have a sync on green bypass switch installed so that if you are like me and you also want to pass composite video over the SCART port, that can be done with these modules from this batch and probably going forward. So basically, if you want to know what the SVS is and why I've been hyping it so much, check out the My Life in Gaming video. They did an excellent job showing you everything that you need to know about it. The only thing I want to reiterate is, they made a mistake of flipping a switch in the wrong position. Just watch the video. You'll see what I mean. And if you just consciously remember, okay, before I start, I'm going to have all these switches toggled, you won't really run into any issues at all. And this is just very cool for people who want to mix and match signals. Now, of course, if you have 7 SCART consoles and 2 outputs that you need to go to, then you might just want to stick with the G-SCART or any of the alternatives. But if you mix and match signals, this is really up there with the Extron Crosspoint in versatility. It's not a matrix switch, so all of the inputs go to both outputs or as many outputs at the same time. But that might be exactly what you need. So I think between this, the G switches, the alternative switches that have been great and performing well, that I've really been hyping since their release. There's a bunch of different ones. I don't want to waste everybody's time listing them. And whatever other solutions you might have, I think everybody's got a choice for them. So definitely check out the My Life in Gaming video and get ready this Saturday, the 26th at 7 p.m. New York City time to start placing your pre-orders and try to get up there first in line so you can get yours first. Tito from Macho Nacho Productions recently posted a video showing off a brand new analog stick replacement for the Nintendo 64 controller. And while it's currently sold out, I definitely still want to talk about it because it might be the perfect replacement for many people, or maybe not for others. So essentially, it's a metal stick that comes in a really well-engineered package that allows you to even customize it and tweak it. Tweak it both with different types of thumbsticks and the tops to them, as well as actually calibrate it. And it really just goes above and beyond for what can be done with the N64's analog stick. And unlike a lot of other replacements, it has the full range of motion, the same way that you would have it on an original Mint N64 controller. However, it's really expensive. Depending. So context is always key with stuff like that. If you're like me and you casually play the N64 now and then, it's probably not worth it to buy one of these. Get yourself a decent condition original controller, or I just personally use the Retro Fighters Brawler 64 with the Mr. Core, and that's more than good enough for my Mario Kart 64 experience on the N64 and the occasional gaming that I do. However, if you're a pro gamer, a speedrunner, or any kind of Smash player, basically a pro gamer, spending about $150 on a stick might actually save you money over time, because if you're that person, you've probably replaced your analog stick quite a few times over the years. And if you add up how much you've spent, it's almost certainly more than this. And one of the main things about it is, other than occasionally re-greasing it and recalibrating it, it should last a really long time. Now, obviously, it'll take years to prove if that's true or not, but based on the design and engineering in it, it looks like it absolutely will. So that could absolutely save you some time and money over the long period of times. Or if you're just the type of person who, you're a hardworking N64 fan that saved your money and you just don't want to think about it. You don't want to have your 20 minutes a week that you get to yourself to sit down and play just to find out that your analog stick went floppy and now you can't play anything. You might just want to spend the money on this and never worried about it again. Because if you're, a round casual player, certainly more than me, but not as much as a pro player, then it probably will last just as long as the controller itself, as long as it holds up to the hype, which it looks like it does. So yeah, I mean, context is always key. It's so easy to just scoff at a price of something like this if you don't think about all of the things that I just talked about. And if it's not for you, that's totally fine as well. The only other thing that I will mention, and this is 100% an opinion here, but if I were to buy this stick and install it into a nice N64 controller, I would also pick up the carrying case that Rocker Gaming is selling for it just to protect my investment. Now, you could also just say that's dumb. I'm going to hang my controllers the way I normally would. But anybody that's ever packed up N64 controllers know you always have to make sure that the analog stick isn't jammed in any direction. And if you're somebody that goes to competitive tournaments, I think that carrying case that's on the website is definitely a good investment. And I don't have any affiliate links here. So, if somebody's saying I'm trying to push it, that's fine. You go right ahead and do that. But I just think that I personally would have bought that if I had spent the money on that stick. I definitely wanted to mention it. Or you could just spend hundreds of dollars on a new old stock original controller, which I did include an affiliate link for just in case, but it's all up to you. Honestly, Tito's video puts everything else into much better perspective. I just kind of wanted to word vomit the whole context thing so everybody goes in there watching it with the right mindset. But definitely check out that video, because even if you don't like the N64, I think you'll be really impressed at the engineering that went into this. And I always just like looking at cool stuff that people poured their hearts into making, because even if the product isn't for me, I could always respect something like this. So definitely check out Tito's video. Next up, Retro Fighters have just opened pre-orders on an Xbox 360 style controller that offers Hall effect analog sticks as well as 1000 Hz polling rates for the lowest latency performance possible. The price is $60 before the promo code. Make sure to use promo code RetroRGB if you buy it for 10% off. And while I'm not the biggest fan of promo codes, don't throw away your free money. Throw in that promo code and get it. And it comes in black, white, and transparent green. Pre-orders will remain open until May 2nd, and then after that, it should ship to customers before the end of the year and hopefully just be in stock and ready to purchase. There's a few other things about this that you probably would want to know. It's compatible with the original Xbox 360, but also basically everything else. Windows, Mister, Raspberry Pi, Android. There's X input and D input modes. And they're really, really pushing for as low latency as possible. And if you look at the performance of their previous few controllers, they were already extremely low, but the team is really pushing this one even further because they're really looking to just have the lowest latency controller out there, which I love that, obviously. Plus, I also thought the Xbox 360 controller was also very comfortable. So who knows, maybe this will end up being everybody's go-to controller for Mister or something like that. But either way, if you want one of these, just check out the links or just go to retrofighters.com, and don't forget, enter promo code RetroRGB to get 10% off the order. Don't throw away your free money with that one. So yeah, this one looks cool and I'm interested in checking one out myself. Next up, developer EAD Master has just released an English translation patch for the Sega Saturn game Princess Crown, and this is based on previous translations that have been going on for over a decade, but they are now completed. EAD Master was able to go through and clean up all of the previous work, fix some graphics, fix some text, fix some awkward English translations that were in there, and make it into a playable release. So there's still some minor things that need to be done, and more releases will follow, but all major issues and limitations have been resolved, so you should be able to just play through the action RPG game. If you want any other enhancements to it, there's some other stuff that Dan mentioned in the post, like Paul Met also created a hack to increase the screen resolution to 352 by 224 instead of 320 by 224 and improve its transparency effects. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you could add to this. So if you're into action RPGs and you like the Sega Saturn, I would absolutely check out Dan's post, read through every word and see exactly what you need to do to get this up and running. But as I always say, to the point where it probably annoys everybody, thank you to everybody who works on English translations, because even if it's a game I'm not personally into, I know there's tons of people that love action RPGs, and it's just so nice for everybody else that around the world that's outside of Japan to potentially be able to experience it as well. So thanks to everybody who works on this stuff, and of course thanks to Dan for cross-posting some of the cool Shiro stuff over here on RetroRGB. Well, that's it for this week. As always, thanks to everybody who watches, listens, plays nicely in the comments, and of course, thank you to everybody who supports in absolutely any way, because it really is you who's keeping all this stuff going, and I try very hard not to let you down. So I'm going to keep trying my absolute best, and you keep doing you, because I really appreciate it. So thank you all so much, and I'll see you next week. This week's Roundup is brought to you by Neo Paradigm Entertainment, connecting Southeast Asian influencers with opportunities in the West.